up, Jags fans? Man, I feel like it's been so long since we've had a show. In reality, it's been like a week, but that's okay. It feels like it's been so long. This is your first time with us on a live show. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. This is Fan Interactive, so get into the comments, get into the chat, and tell me what you think about the draft. The draft's coming up, so we got to talk draft. I know there's other things going on. There's Buda Baker. There's the signing of Blake Hance, if that gets anyone excited. I know there's all that. But I've been kind of bored, and I have a little draft fatigue. So I started kind of looking into like some next level analytics at like what some kind of deeper numbers. And I think I kind of have some ideas of where we may go, because I do know Trent Baalke likes analytics. So I kind of want to look at some of the things that have kind of flown under the radar so far. And how it may impact how Baalke approaches the draft. We've kind of seen his strategy a little bit as my phone falls off my desk. We've kind of seen his strategy a little bit with the players he's brought in for like top 30 visits and things like that. But nevertheless, we got some good things to look at here. Before we jump into it, make sure that you're following on Twitter and Instagram. I've been better about Instagram, and I want to post on Instagram a lot. Good things coming. Good things coming. Also, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We do live shows when the season starts. We do live shows multiple times a week. In the off season, we do multiple shows a week. I'm also on Twitch. I stream on Twitch for when I get bored and nothing to talk about on Jags. So make sure to follow that channel, because that's a lot of fun there as well. Okay, so let's jump right into it, right? So I kind of just want to look at the biggest thing, and this isn't even really next level analytics. This is really just like things that I feel like no one's talking about, but like is important, is the amount of snaps that we're like losing for like one reason or another. Okay, so I want to bring up this screen here. And like, oh, this screen is not what I thought it would be. So let's see if we can make the, oh no, this is bad. This is bad. Okay, so why don't we just take this out? We don't need to see me. Let's take a look at this, okay? All right, so this is the snaps we're missing and the PFF grades that go with it, okay? So Juwan Taylor, obviously the most snaps missing on offense for 1,230. James Robinson, now I know he hasn't been on the team, but the 214 snaps that we're losing from him, I know everyone thinks the JaMychal Hasty is going to replace him, but that is one of the biggest snaps that we're losing is Hasty's replacing is the 214. Dan Arnold, the 169, and then the Marvin Jones, the 807 snaps. So those are the most snaps there. If you notice, we're not really missing a bunch of snaps from players that have graded out incredibly well. Even Juwan Taylor, we can look at his grades here in a second. 59.5. On defense, the biggest losses there are Arden Key, Duwan Smoot, Corey Peters, and Shaq Griffin. Okay, so there we have there. We'll take a look at that more here in a second. I do want to get to some of these comments in the chat, because this is a fan show. So get into the comments and tell me what you think about what's going on. Jag Gator was the first one in the chat. Jag Gator says, yo. What up, Jag Gator? Nolly Full Cab was the first channel member in the chat, so I appreciate that. Nolly Full Cap. He spams the Blake Bortles emojis like he always does. Volkfang says first, but unfortunately, he was not first. He was third. But I like the effort there, Volkfang. William says, I'm here. Volkfang says, let's go. Raw Jeep says, what are we saying? Nolly Full Cap says, sorry you can't beat the boat. Yeah. Ron Beedry says, hey, Jason. What's up, Ron? Nolly says, hilarious. I'm first on mine then. Okay, nice try, boys. William says he really wants a corner or a defensive lineman. I like that. I feel like after we look at the grades here, that's where we're going to end up being at one of those two positions. So I think you're not far off. Jag Gator says, Jason will decide who is first then. Okay, so on mine, Jag Gator was first. He was. So I'll just give you that straight up and right up front there. Let's see here. Hey, fellow Jags fans. We're going to have a good season this year. Go Jags. I mean, the over-under at 11.5, I think that guarantees that we are going to have a good season. So 100% going to have a great season. I can't wait. I know the ticket prices have gone up. I mean, I still go to every game. I went to Kansas City, went to all the playoff games. So it was a lot of fun, man. The Jags-Chargers game was just great. I saw a bunch of people that I knew, a bunch of people that knew me, and it was just fun a lot of times. I'll tell a quick funny story. Nolly Full Cab is a member again. All right, I like that. I like that. Somehow we missed Patrick Jackson giving 42 pounds. I mean, how did I miss that? Wow. Okay, so Nolly Full Cab, a member for 19 months. Somehow Nolly Full Cabs, sometimes it takes a while for it to come up here. Let me see what's happening here. Sorry, boys. Okay. I kind of want to. Patrick Jackson, it's coming up on mine, but it's not coming up on yours for some weird reason. Sorry, Patrick. I don't know how that happened, and I don't know what Patrick Jackson's even doing awake. Like what are we doing here, Patrick? He gives the $42. Here I can kind of show you here what it looks like on my screen, because I gotta give Patrick credit here. Okay, so if we look over here, see the chat. It says Patrick Jackson. I know this is scuffed, boys, but this is how we do it around here. I hope you've been busy with golf and not busy with work, JT. Good to see you. I had to give you a shout out there. Give 42 pounds. So 42 pounds to dollars. Let's see what that is. $52. Come on. Come on, Patrick. And we have Nolly Full Cab becoming a channel member again for 19 months. So you guys are the absolute best. You spoil me. I can't even figure out how to work my computer. So, I mean, I'm really humbled that you guys would do that. Thank you, guys. I mean, we're going to get to the analytics here in a second, but I do want to say thank you. The U.S. dollar, I mean, not doing bad here. I mean, not bad. The pound sterling, not doing bad here. This leads me to my next point here. I'm actually starting a new channel. So I was hoping to launch it today before this show, but it didn't happen in time. So I apologize, guys. But it will happen, and it's going to be politics, entertainment, and sports, and it's going to be separate from this one. I know I've been talking about this for a long time, but I'm finally queued up. I'm finally ready to go. If you don't believe me, take a look at this. Let's see if this works. This could be scuffed as well. All right, look, this is the setup right here. Okay, that's the setup. So just to show you, it's ready to go. All right, so get excited. I'll give you all of that information as we're ready to go. All right, so let's take a look at the analytics here. Thank you, Patrick Jackson. Thank you for the $52. Thank you, Nolly Full Cab, for becoming a member. I don't know what happened with my channel here. Somehow it you know me. I can't do anything right when it comes to computers. All right, let me get reset up here, boys. Thank you, Nolly. Thank you, Patrick. Patrick, go to bed. What time is it in England? 2:15. Go to bed, Patrick. Go to bed. Go to bed. Yeah, I haven't been playing that much golf, but it's been good. Patrick Jackson is fire. Raw G says dub. Who do you want in the draft? Duval. I'll just spoil it for you. I want McDonald Jr. out of Iowa State. That's who I want. I think he's the best player. Ron Beedry, enjoying your input on the Cardiac Cats channel. I've been watching a little bit of their stuff. Yeah, I just like those frame jerseys I'm ready to put up on the wall. Did you see the frame jerseys? This is the most scuffed show. If this is your first show ever watching with us, then this is not how we do things. Okay, so we won Jimmy Smith sign. Here, hold on. Let me put this here. And then check us out. JJ, look at that. JJ Redick, Player of the Year 06. As you can tell, I'm a JJ Redick fan. When I was playing basketball when I was younger, JJ Redick was also playing basketball. Freaking love him. So those two were going up. I also have one of my hometown favorite players in the NFL, Hayden Hurst. I have a signed jersey from Hayden Hurst. And another hometown player, Austin Hayes, baseball player for the Baltimore Orioles. It's all Jacksonville. We're going to get them all up. As you can see, the background's changing a little bit. So it's going to be just in time for the new show launch. Just in time. Thank you again, Patrick and Nolly. I appreciate it. Nice to see a Jimmy Smith jersey making it to someone. That was a freaking process getting that jersey. Can McDonald stop the run though? He doesn't need to stop the run. Okay, let's take a look here. Let's take a look. All right. You guys are getting me off on something here. All right, so let's look at the defensive grades. Okay, let's look at this. Let's look at the snaps. Not run defense. I know that's kind of what you were asking. All right, let's take a look at this. All right, so let's look at the total snaps. Let's look at what we're missing here. Okay, so if we take a look at what's going to be missing from the team, all these guys are coming back. We have to get all the way down to Arden Key for our first player that we're going to be missing here. Okay, so Arden Key, 541 snaps. Like, that's a lot of snaps that we're going to be missing. Like, does Kalavon Chazon take those snaps? I mean, if you look down here, I mean, he's down at 120. Does he see a boost in snaps? Maybe he does. He probably does, especially when you factor in that Dewan Smoot also is not coming back. So between Dewan Smoot and Arden Key, those are edge rushers, specifically edge rushers that like have had success getting at the quarterback with sacks. We're looking at 986 snaps. So that's almost 1,000 snaps that we have to somehow fabricate or create with the current roster. That's my problem here. Like, when we look at the offense, we look at what we're missing, Juwan Taylor is going to be the big one. Juwan Taylor is the big one, and then Marvin Jones Jr. is the second big one. Both of those guys we've essentially replaced with Walker Little and Calvin Ridley. So those snaps are already accounted for. The Arden Key and Dewan Smoot snaps aren't accounted for. Okay, now we look at the next person on defense with the most snaps we're going to be missing. It's actually Shaq Griffin with 336. Now, obviously, we're going to see an increased snap count from Darius Williams, but Darius Williams played 1,075 snaps already, like playing the whole season. So I can't see him compensating for those 336. So someone's going to have an increase in snaps. Is it Trey Herndon at 506? Does he get up into the 800 range? Like, I don't know, but I'd feel more comfortable with that than moving up Kalavon. See what I'm saying? With snaps here. So another defensive lineman, Corey Peters. I mean, that's 307 snaps. I mean, I know we don't feel like Corey Peters was like a huge part of the team, but that's 307 snaps that we're going to have to find. So between Corey Peters, between Arden Key, and between Dewan Smoot, we're looking at 1,200 snaps, 1,300 snaps almost. On defense, like, we got to probably draft a guy there. And now maybe you take him in the second round. Maybe you take him in the third round. But if I'm replacing that many snaps, I think I go first round. You know, and of course they go best player available. But, I mean, that's a lot of snaps to try to compensate there. Brian Branch would be great at 24. Hope he's there. Team Branch, says Patrick. I don't think he's going to be there. I mean, everything that I'm seeing, it says that Brian Branch is going to be the safest pick in the draft. Carter out of Army in the second. I want him, bro. People like, who was it? Gin Jag guy. Jordan DeLuga was super nice. He was like, in the nicest way, said that was a bad pick. Which I appreciate you being nice. But at the same time, like, Balky takes project guys. I mean, he took Kalavon. I mean, maybe he wasn't him that took Kalavon, but I mean, he takes. I mean, Walker Little was basically going to be an injury project guy. A guy like Monteric Brown, a project guy. I mean, he's not afraid to take these projects. So, I could see it happening. We don't care, Jason. We want a cornerback. Number one, that slot guy needs to be there. We don't even have one last year, and we'll get somebody else in the second round to cover that edge. So my problem is, and like Ron, I like that. Like, that's a line of thinking and logic that I can get behind. And if we do go that route, I can't see myself being mad. But here's what I'm thinking, and maybe I'm crazy here, but like, I feel like the weak part of our defense last year was getting after the quarterback, like getting sacks. And you look at guys like Smoot and Arden Key, who were guys that were getting sacks that aren't coming back. So if you consider that it was the weak part of our team, not our defense, the weak part of our entire team, and you factor in that we're losing 1,300 defensive line / edge snaps, I feel like that's got to be number one priority. Now, you got to factor in Travon Walker is going to take the next step, right? He has to. Number 1 overall pick, got to. So maybe he does compensate in the area of pressures and sacks and things like that. But even all things considered, is nickel corner more important than sacks and pressures? And maybe it is. Again, like I just said, maybe we're expecting big things from guys like Trevon Walker, maybe Calais Vaughn. I mean, 23 years old, still young guy. Maybe he takes another step this year. Maybe that's true. But at the end of the day, like, I need pressures and I need sacks. Okay, so that's why I went McDonald Jr. out of Iowa State, because he's a sack guy. He gets after the quarterback. Now, I've seen Miles Murphy out of Clemson. Okay, fine. But I just feel like you could get a corner later in the rounds. Let's talk about corner for a second. Okay, let's talk about corners. All right, so this is Jacksonville coverage grades. And so here's my issue here. If we do look at corner, I want to scroll over here to ADOT. Okay, ADOT is average distance of targets. Okay, so for all you corner guys, all you guys that are worried about corners, let's take a look at this ADOT stat. Okay, and I see UCF Jaguar is in the chat. Pressures and sacks for me all day. UCF, I hope everything's going good. Hope you're doing all right. It's funny because, and I'll just say this because, listen, UCF and me, we're cool. But, like, there's just Jaguar YouTube content creators aren't putting out a lot of content right now because there's nothing to talk about, okay? But it's funny to see everyone's like, I've been slacking on content. Sorry, guys, I've been missing. Sorry, I've been dealing with stuff. Just be honest. There's not a lot to talk about. And again, I'm not talking about UCF, but UCF and me like to kind of talk about trends that we see in the content creation industry. And that's just a funny one to me. It's like, hey, guys, been gone for a while. Working on some new stuff, gearing up some new, okay, cool. You guys are here no matter what. We got the same people in the chat no matter what. And that's why I keep coming back here every time. Glad to be here, UCF Jaguar. I know you know what I mean. The other thing with Walker is, this is from Patrick Jackson, who should go to bed, says, the other thing with Walker is the defensive coordinators seem to have worked out how best to use him towards the end of the year. Which is funny because we all knew that was the best way to use him. And we are not defensive coordinators. We are fans that watch the game. Okay, back to the ADOT. Okay, you guys are getting me sidetracked. Average distance of target, which I think is an interesting stat, especially from all these people that want defensive backs in the first round. Okay, let's take a look here. Tavon Campbell, like, I know the targets and the receptions are low. Okay, 6 targets, 3 receptions. Regardless of that, okay, he had the average distance of target. He was the leader by a lot, 4 yards, 3.9 for you math majors. So when we come to looking at this, like, what do we see here? He got picked on when he was in the game. Okay, so and gave up 50%. I mean, horrible. 42.2 coverage grade. If Tavon Campbell was in the game, he was getting targeted and he was getting picked on, and he gave up, a long 41-yard pass. Not great. Okay, then we have Tyson Campbell, who by default, because he played so many snaps, 87 targets. That's a ton. Darius Williams is at 90, which is more, but 53 receptions on 87 targets. So this actually tells us that Tyson Campbell is pretty good in this situation. 12.1 is the average distance of targets. So basically, like, when a team has a deep threat, we put Tyson Campbell on him, and he did a pretty decent job. 60.9 is not amazing reception percentage, but then again, this stuff's kind of tough. You have to look at the penalties, and then we have to scroll over. And scrolling when you're zoomed in on Chrome the way that I am can be kind of a pain, but we can do it here. We can do it. Okay, we're not quite there. Missed tackles 14.3, not terrible. Tackling 45, 3 assists. Yeah. And look at the NFL average against him, 86. So kind of in line there. 9 pass breakups, 3 interceptions. So, you're going to get that out of your deep target. Because, again, Tyson Campbell is covering the number 1. That's the thing. So, Dwan Smoot sneaks his way onto this list somehow. With all those those like zone blitzes. Sorry, guys. Those zone blitzes where he's covering somebody. 2 target. Oof. I told you, guys, I got computer problems. 2 targets, 0 receptions. So Dwan Smoot, technically our best player with the average target of 12 yards. Great job, Dwan Smoot. Then look, we see Monteric Brown, 11.4. Trey Herndon, 11.4. Shaq Griffin, 10.6. Greg Jr., 10. So, like, I know these guys played outside corner, but even if you look at our safeties at Andre Sisco and Andrew Wingard and Rayshon Jenkins and Chris Claybrooks, who may or not be on the team for assault reasons, teams obviously target our worst corner on deep plays when they're in the game. So we have a need at someone who can cover speed receivers. That's the bottom line. So I know we want these slot guys who can play down at the line of scrimmage. We look at guys like Branch, but in reality, it might make more sense to go after a guy who has speed and can cover these deep routes. So I know everyone likes Deonte Banks. Don't think he's going to be there. I think he flashed too much at the combine with his 4.3 40. But we're going to need a coverage guy who can cover deep. Now, Darius Williams did a decent job, but the fact that he played the slot for so long kind of has his ADOT down at 9.9, so that kind of waters down his analytics and what he could do. And again, because look at the yards after catch for 8.4. The yards after the catch for Gregory. Okay, I got too many drawings going on here. Darius Williams, let's do this because we got issues. 9.9, so just under 10 yards per target. 305 yards after the catch. I'm not going to get too big on that because when you're covering that cross drag area, you give up a lot of yards. For example, Devin Lloyd had 500 yards after the catch, given up. 11.4 yards per reception. That's not bad. 558 yards. I mean, that's a lot of yards given up. And I like Darius Williams. I mean, I think he was second or third on the list in pass breakups for the league. But the bottom line is if we look across the board on these coverage grades, trash. Decent, but we all know Greg Jr. was not that good. I mean, he only had 15 coverage snaps. So can we really evaluate that? We'll give him a pass, though. 64 is not great. And I know that factors in beginning of the season when he wasn't amazing out of the slot. And I know people don't even care about PFF, but let's just, for the sake of the argument, have that. Not great. I'll give Cisco 69. I'll give Wingard, we'll call that a wash, right? Terrible coverage. So when people say they want coverage, I get it. I mean, now it is hard to cover in the NFL, but the thing is the Brian Branch, I don't think he's going to help you in this area. That's the thing. I just don't know. He may. He's called the safest pick in the draft. I just don't know if he's going to help you in that situation. He might, though. I don't know. Flawless coverage from Dwan Smoot. If Dwan Smoot can stay healthy, I think we'd all love to have Dwan Smoot back. But the problem is, I'll give Cisco 69. I bet you Cisco would beat my ass probably. So I'm not gonna say all these guys would. That's the thing I don't get, and I'm not gonna go on a soapbox on this. This isn't a life lesson like I like to give out here. But how on earth can these reporters and people say the things they say about these players? We saw what happened with Russell Westbrook. He approached a fan, and that was the first time in a long time I think that we've seen an actual professional athlete go up against an average fan as far as standing next to each other in a hostile situation where potentially could be a fight. And Westbrook would have murdered that fan. How can these people say the things they say about these athletes? I can't get it for the life of me. I mean, athletes that don't make it in the NFL are massive. I mean, recently I've been around some really good athletes that had little stints in the NFL. They're huge. I don't get it. And we all have the right to criticize and be fans, but I mean, can we be a little more respectful with the way that we talk about these people? I mean, is that too much to ask? I mean, maybe I'm soft or a snowflake. I don't know, but I've never even had the urge to want to call one of these guys horrible or bad. They're not bad. They're big. They run 4.3s. All right. Volkfang says, move up in the first round and snatch Joey Porter Jr. away from all the Steelers fans. Boy, I'd be hearing about that for months. Volk, I think you're in Steeler territory. I think so. It's supposed to be a great draft to need corners, which bodes well for us. UCF Jaguar. I don't like the Brian Branch stuff very much either. I want a big guy, O-line, D-line. Yeah, me too. Now, I did want to take a look at some of the analytics on run blocking and pass blocking, which is a great transition, UCF Jaguar. It's like we planned this. All right, so let's pull the key up here. Let's pull the key up. If we look at, let's see here. Snaps in a run blocking role. Let's take a look here. I mean, we played the same pretty five guys the whole time, so we can take a look at their run block grades here. So this is just run blocking. Let's take a look at the snap percentages of runs. Okay, so we know that Fortner, Juwan Taylor, and Sheriff played like a bunch of the snaps here, right? So that's not a surprise at all. Great job from these guys. You know, the grades. No, this is what Juwan Taylor got killed on, was the run blocking grade, 39.7. Now, was this part of the reason? Now, we look at this in zone, 48.1. Gap blocking scheme, 38.5. I don't know. I mean, obviously teams don't care about this because they did nothing they signed him to a mega deal. The Chiefs did, but not great numbers. And if we look at the grades, like in general, Manhurt's gone. Agnew, who doesn't really count as a run blocker. Trevor Lawrence, how does he have a run blocking grade? I don't know. Beathard. We have to go all the way to Walker Little with the 60. Like, the team did not run block well. And now, maybe this is a testament to the way Doug Peterson runs offense. That's probably fair. So maybe it's not fair to look at run blocking grades. Patrick Jackson, killing me today. Juwan's grades low because he was playing out of position at right tackle, and he's obviously a left tackle. Not great. And maybe it's not fair to look at this. I mean, let's look at the zone snap percentage, 58. Ben Barch, you know, they obviously switched more to the gap scheme. Shatley. That's the thing. I mean, you do have Shatley and Barch coming back at interior. So how much trust do you have in that tandem? They obviously had a lot of trust in it last year. We don't know what Ben Barch is going to look like coming back this year. This is Shatley's last year, I think, on his deal. I think you can get out from Cam Robinson. So I think it would be in his best interest, the Jags' interest, to at least draft a lineman. We didn't run much last year. What's up, Timmy? Good to see you here. I know, you're right. Let's look at pass blocking. Now, no wonder they brought my boy Blake Hance back. Now, I was all ready to talk about how he was a restricted free agent, and on those 12 pass block snaps, he was just lights out in those 2 games that he played. They're bringing him back. They're bringing old Blake Hance back. So good to see him come back. He's still young too. I mean, I think after kind of looking at this, I think they kind of like what they have at guard. I think their bigger issue might be at tackle. So I know they interviewed Osiris Torrance, who is a guard but is big enough to play tackle. But interesting to kind of look at where they'll go with that. But I think they do like Blake Hance. Manhurts is gone. See ya. Snoop Conner doesn't really count. Luke Farrell is there. Pass blocking 10 snaps. I mean, if you're pass blocking as a tight end, that's not a great sign. J-Rob gone. Juwan Taylor gone. Zay Jones is a receiver. Cam Robinson. Okay, so Cam Robinson, he had a pretty decent grade there at 74.8. Only gave up 4 sacks. Those 4 hits were there. 19 hurries. Like, that's a decent amount. I mean, Brandon Sheriff gave up 22. I don't know if you guys can see that. And my big head might be in the way, but he gave up 22. I'll scroll down so you can see that. 22. This is what happens when you use the free software. Maybe I can get Epic Pen to sponsor me so that doesn't happen. 22 pressures. Luke Fortner gave up 26 pressures. So they were definitely, the Jags were giving up a lot of pressure on the interior. When you combine Shatley's 18 and you combine, we have to go up to see. Ben Barch's 7. So clearly the pressure was coming from the interior. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how to evaluate this. So they're obviously going to address edge. They're obviously going to address corner. They're obviously going to address offensive line. But in what order, I guess, is the bigger question, because best player available is like an easy answer. But if we look at snaps being replaced, they got to replace those edge rush snaps. I mean, and I know you're losing snaps from guys like Shaq Griffin, even though people think that we've solved that with Darius Williams, which we have. But Darius Williams, again, played a lot of snaps himself, over 1,000. So those snaps got to be replaced as well. Do we trust Trey Herndon to do that? I don't know. Patrick Jackson says, pretty disappointing from someone as highly paid as Sheriff. But he was obviously playing hurt toward the end of the season. And that's a great point, Patrick. And that's why I love you guys that are smart fans. Because for a second there, I had completely forgotten that he was that injured. I mean, he was very injured. I mean, I heard through a secret source that he potentially could have been playing through a hernia in the end of the year. And I don't know if you guys have ever had a hernia. But the last thing I want to do is play a contact sport with a torn abdomen muscle. So, not sure if we can really gauge him off that. But, playing devil's advocate, Brandon Sheriff has an injury history. The fact that he was able to kind of Iron Man through the season, I give him tons of credit, tons of props. Again, because I'm a softie, bro. Are you kidding me? If I have like a hurt thumb, I'm like, oh, man. Yeah, whatever I do, So, I don't know. No reason to let Shatley walk. He's old, reliable. I mean, Shatley's contract's still on the books for pretty cheap this year. I mean, I think it's like around $1 million or $2 million maybe to keep him on the roster. But this is what I meant by him walking was like, this is his last year. This is his last year, like coming up. So, do we re-sign him after next year? I mean, again, we got to sign Trevor. So there's no telling there. DJM says, Jason-san, what up, DJM? Glad you're here as always. Glad you could make it. Nate P says, Osiris, please. I don't think Osiris Torrance would be a bad pick. I think the Jags may think. I could see the Jags trading back into like the top of the second round and then drafting him in the top of the second round and accumulating some more picks to fill out the roster. Because, again, when they have to sign Trevor, we saw what Jalen Hurts just got. I mean, Trevor's about to break the bank. I mean, he's gonna get over $500 million. Think about that. $500 million to play quarterback. Crazy. Yes, Sheriff and Fatu Kasi were injured down the stretch. Very true. Very true. So I mean, we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of intrigue, I think, coming up with this year's draft. I mean, so many good players. We're seeing all this speculation of like the Jaguars trading back, I don't see them trading up this year. But then again, no one really knows what Balky's going to do. I mean, no one saw the trading back into the first round for Devin Lloyd coming, even though I don't know if necessarily was a great move. They also took Chad Muma in the third round, who plays the same position as Devin Lloyd, which is a little confusing because they already had Luakon, then they extended to Luakon. So now they have 3 linebackers, even though they play 5 defensive backs, more than any team in the league. Confusing. Very confusing. Not sure what they're thinking. Maybe they're just taking best player available. But if we look at the snaps they have to replace, it's edge rusher and corner. If we look at like what they need the most, depending on who you ask, it's sacks or coverage downfield from corners on those deep routes. Because if we keep having guys like Tavon Campbell and Monteric Brown and Gregory Jr. out there on the field, as much as I love those guys, and they're, again, a bunch of young guys I just named, they're going to get picked on by the other team. And we see that. I mean, they played very limited games, and they have the highest defensive yardage targets from a player or from on the team. So they're not testing Darius Williams deep. They're not testing our safeties deep in the middle of the field. They're testing our boundary corners deep when they come in, and they're not experienced. And that's what most NFL teams will do. So you maybe need to have some depth there. You maybe need to have some players there that can step in and give you a little bit more than some of those guys. Now, I know you can't be good everywhere. And when you're a team that's offensive predicated like the Jags, then you sacrifice places like that. So I think that's why Doug Peterson will probably go edge, or tackle in the first round, depending on who's better there. Most coaches, I think, tend to believe that you can compensate for deficiencies in secondary with good pass rush, correct? So if you do bring a guy in who can get sacks and who can get pressures at the quarterback, I think that's where you make it up. At the same time, Jags played 5 defensive backs more than any other team in the league. So maybe they prioritize that. Why would you draft 2 off-ball linebackers? That's beyond me. Patrick Jackson says, as ever, the Jags will be higher on their O-line than we are and leave it until the 5th round, no doubt. Good point. Timmy says, really, Trevor hasn't done anything to warrant that much money. Why do we want him to be paid so much? Hope Trevor gives us a team-friendly deal. Okay. So Timmy is our resident, we'll call him realist. He likes to put things into perspective of realism. So if you put Trevor in a box, then you look at, yes, he won the team 9 games last year. But if we look at it anecdotally, right, from our own perspective, and if we look at, what we've seen throughout the league, what quarterback would you take going forward over Trevor Lawrence? You may take Patrick Mahomes. You may take Josh Allen. But after that, you can make an argument for Herbert. You can make an argument for Hurts. But I wouldn't trade either one of them for Lawrence. Lawrence has the total package now. I mean, he's got the athleticism. He's got the arm. He's got the IQ. He's got the leadership capabilities. The year with Urban Meyer, I don't think it could really be fair to judge against him. I just feel like most people, when you look at people's lists of NFL quarterbacks, and they have Trevor as top 5. Most people have him as top 5. And he's also the youngest quarterback on those lists. So that bodes well for him getting paid a lot of money. Look at a guy like Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has been good for 2 years, but really last year was his coming out party. Not to mention he had Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, great offensive line, good defense. It kind of unraveled in the offseason this year. But he had a good team around him, and Jalen Hurts put up good numbers, and look what Jalen Hurts got. Patrick Mahomes, won a Super Bowl, a couple Super Bowls, MVPs. So he deserves that. If Trevor, I got to give credit to the local radio. Is it possible that Trevor, because Jalen Hurts it was Gardner that lost a lot of those games at the end for the Eagles. Is it out of the realm of possibility that Trevor has a similar season that Jalen Hurts had last year as far as take his team to the Super Bowl, have a great season? I think he was second in MVP voting. Is it outside the realm of possibility that Trevor Lawrence has that type of year next year? Given Calvin Ridley coming in, bringing back almost everybody on the offense besides Juwan Taylor, I could see that happening for Trevor. So if Hurts does that, I could see Lawrence doing that. And if Hurts demands the money that he got, $500 million, then I could see Trevor getting that. And again, it's the guaranteed money that's big there. So, hopefully he takes a team-friendly deal. All big money quarterbacks have actually been deep in the postseason, 1 game away from the Super Bowl, other than Dak and Kyler. Trevor should not break our bank. Okay. The Justin Herbert contract is going to come down the pipe sooner than Trevor Lawrence's. So that might give us a good indication of what is happening in the quarterback market, because I could see people having the same sentiment toward Justin Herbert as they do Trevor Lawrence, as far as trending up, one of the great young quarterbacks in the league, projecting the future as being one of the stars. So that'll probably give us a good insight. You got to stay healthy as well. As it sounds like a draft which doesn't have much of elite stuff at the top, but it does have a good low drop-off in talent, so your round 2 to 4 picks should hold good value. Trevor Lawrence is the prince that was promised. I'm with Ron. I would take Lawrence over Herbert 100 times out of 100. So you want to break the bank off of 1 year? That's wild. It's not one. And listen, I get what you're saying, Timmy, but like you either have a quarterback or you don't. So why like nickel and dime for a quarterback? I mean, how many years as Jags fans have we been trying to find a quarterback? We haven't had a quarterback since Mark Brunell. I mean, do you want to call Blake Bortles a quarterback? I mean, I like Blake Bortles, one of my favorite players ever, but not a star quarterback. David Garrard, one of my favorite players ever, not a star quarterback. Mark Brunell, fringe star quarterback. We have the potential to have a guy like Trevor Lawrence who could be a star quarterback. So I think most people predict that he's only going to have a better season next year with a better team around him and having more experience in the league. So, yeah, I think we're going to have to break the bank for him. And I'm okay with it. Pay him. It's not my money. I mean, I get the fact that you want to be fiscally responsible because you only have so much money in your salary cap. But, again, you either have a quarterback or you don't. Volk says, I think that's why this draft is so interesting and why I'm still higher on Kuntz than most, I think. He's so athletic, and I want to see him in this offense. Yeah, I mean, if Michael Mayer's there, you've got to hope Trevor's smart enough to want to structure his deal like Mahomes did to make bank whilst, I like that word, giving his team the room to build a Super Bowl winning roster around him. The question is, Patrick, if he wins a Super Bowl, does he care about that? If he pulls off a Super Bowl next year or the year after, is that his mindset? Now we see Mahomes obviously won a second Super Bowl. So maybe. And Trevor does seem like that type of guy. But I say this in my group chats all the time, and I'm not trying to speak some distance, but like football is not the most important thing to Trevor. It's really not. I could see Trevor playing for 5 to 8, 9 years and just being like, peace, me and my wife are right off in the sunset. I can see it. Josh Carter says, it can't let Trevor leave, so I would rather pay him whatever he wants. Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm like with you there 100%, Josh. That's kind of how I feel, and that's kind of how I think the Jags will approach it. So, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. All right, guys. Well, I think I'm going to call it there. Great show tonight. Kind of getting back into the things. I know we didn't talk about Chris Claybrooks. Whatever. If he's guilty, he's guilty. If he's not, he's not. Yeah, let's let the legal thing play out. I know we didn't talk about some of the guys visiting. And we got time for that. We'll do a show later in the week talking about guys that have come in. Maybe we'll just kind of chat Jags, kind of do that type of thing. There's not a lot to talk about, so should be good. Patrick, we'll end with Patrick's because Patrick did super chat and he didn't get the thing didn't come up for some reason. I think I was changing between videos here or something. It says Trevor doesn't strike me as greedy and he's going to make enough more than last a lifetime whatever he does. Yeah, I like that. Listen, guys, I appreciate it. Make sure to follow everything, Twitter, Instagram, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Give the video a thumbs up. That helps a lot. Tell a friend that's a Jags fan. That helps a lot as well. You can leave a comment. I guess that helps a lot as well. Again, shout out to Patrick, who is staying up way too late and who gave the donation, super chat donation, $52. I appreciate that. Nolly Full Cab, 19th. Coming up on 2 years of being a channel member. Nolly, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you to all the channel members that were in the chat. Volk Fang, I love seeing you in here. Timmy, give you a special shout out because I love your perspective. We had a UCF Jaguar was in here. Jersey Jaguar, I didn't get your comment, but that's funny. That's funny. I'm just not reading that. Sorry. Let's see. Who else we got in here? Nolly. We got Patrick. Yeah. All the other. If I missed you, a channel member, I'm sorry. Can't wait for the show later this week. I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate all the Jags fans.